Straight from the edge, it's time for some daytime drama. Over on Y&R, Summer's working hard to, come to terms a little bit with the fact that Lola and Kyle are together and, do a little bit to bury the hatchet. I mean, she really does want to move on and not have ill will towards Lola, considering that, she cares about Kyle and she's starting to warm up to Lola and why he actually does love her and realizing they have a lot more in common than she may have realized at the outset. And so Lola's having her bachelorette party and, Summer crashes it and Abby, tries to intercede there and say, hey, what are you doing here? That you're not invited to this. And Lola steps in and she tells tells Abby to let Summer stay, and they end up having a good moment where gifts are being given to Lola, and Summer says she didn't have anything to give her, but she's giving her the fact that she's moving on and trying to not cause any issues for them. So it's a very nice moment for the two of them, and I actually really like the outlook. Maybe they can be friends. I mean, they share a liver together, and they've shared Kyle in the past, and they just seem to work well together. And Lola's very appreciative of what Summer's trying to do, and that was just nice to see. And the other ladies got to see that too, and see Summer stepping up in a different kind of way. So Adam is giving Kevin proof of life of Chloe, and because he wants Kevin to work for him, and so basically Kevin gets to go to where Chloe's being held and see that she's alive, and of course Chloe's like a cat, almost wanting to just jump up on Adam and tear him limb for limb, but Kevin does negotiate that she can go home to Portland, and Chloe's like, no. I gotta have a moment with Adam alone, and she's able to say essentially that he has put her on this revenge path for, I don't know, it's been about 3 years, I think, and this has damaged her entire life, and she's not able to focus on anything especially when it came back to life. And so she gave as much as she could to say, I don't know if I can move on with you around, and it's going to be a day at a time essentially for her. And Adam responds saying basically that his entire existence has been shattered by Delia's death as well, and there's no way that he can fix it, and short of him dying, I guess that's the only way that it could somewhat be taken care of in her eyes. He's saying basically like, I can't do anything about this, but I'm going to do everything I can to he's saying make amends inside of him. I don't know if he outwardly expressed that exactly, but I think what he and Sharon talked about, it's starting to take heart, and he's doing a lot of self-reflection and wanting to make something of what he has with his life, and trying to get Christian and going about it the wrong way. But anyway, so she does end up going to see her mom, Esther, and Kevin brings her in the room and says, turn around, and then Chloe's there, and Chloe spoke before, and so she's hearing her daughter's voice and going, oh my gosh, like, is this a ghost? And she's just so grateful that she's alive, and she's not too concerned about the details, but she wants to spend time with her and her granddaughter, and So Kevin's going to set that up, and Chloe wants to make one more stop. Well, of course, she texts Billy and says to meet at the grave of Delia, and he's thinking it's Adam at first, and then she says, no, it's not Adam. And he meets, and he's totally blown away she's alive, and she explains what's been going on, and, you know, he's like, he just wants an excuse to go after Adam, and he's saying, you know, basically, let me do this, and she's like, no, you know, this, I gotta focus on not having my whole life destroyed, because she did end up shooting Adam the second time, and he realized it, he's like, oh, you're the one that shot Adam. Very, there were some fun little things in there. But the two parents of that child just, they want some way to move on. And when Adam resurfaced, it brought up all these feelings they kind of had somewhat dealt with. She had tried to kill Adam, and they're just trying to figure out where to go from here. But he says he'll keep quiet, and she's going to head on back to Portland with her mom. So Devon's still, I mean, really struggling with Hilary's passing, and you know, he's seeing her as a ghost, and he's having his panic attacks again. He did stop with the panic medication, which, you know, he felt he was ready to move on from, but it didn't end up being, you know, it's a placebo sort of thing. So he, you know, once he got it, he kind of mellowed out a little bit. Elena helped him with that, but you know, he just lost his dad, and it's just so much going on with stress that, you know, in his penthouse, he has Hilary everywhere, and, you know, pictures and reminders, because, you know, that's a woman that he loved, and, you know, you don't want to move on from somebody that's such a core part of who you are. And so Elena says basically that, you know, there's 3 of them in the relationship because of this, and that they moved too soon in sleeping together, and he's saying, no, you know, like, what we have is really special, and don't try, this is something that I'm having to deal with myself, and she's trying to get him to open up, like, you can speak to me about this and not shut yourself away, because she realizes how important Hilary is, obviously, to him. And so Nate and Anna try to step in and say to him basically, like, you know, you have too much of this stuff around here. It's like they didn't say it, but like a shrine to Hilary. And, you know, he's obviously way defensive because, it's been a year? And then he's just lost his dad. And, you know, Neil is such a important part of his life as well. And, you know, he's put in a defensive position, which he shouldn't be, because, you know, grief has all manners of ways and timings that people go through, and they're trying to push it when they're the ones early on that were saying that he needed to deal with the grief and all this sort of stuff and go through it, and here he's doing it, and then they're like saying, no, it's not fast enough. I mean, they're trying to be kind about it, but, you know, Devon's more in the right here, because it's on his timetable, and, you know, he admitted about these GC Buzz videos that he watches to remember, you know, how he feels about Hilary, and, you know, he ends up packing them up, and, you know, I don't think this is the right way to go. Maybe kind of put a few things away and have the reminders there, but he was saying, like, I can connect to my past and to the future, and he's realizing that Hilary is always going to be a part of who he is, and for him to ignore it is not the right way to go. So good job on the writers, you know, bringing all this into the forefront, and with the Neil thing too, it has so many layers for these actors to work with, and they're definitely approaching it in the right way from different directions. But good job with you guys pulling that all together in acting. Just, it's really good stuff, and keep expanding on it, you know, in the weeks to come. Over on GH, Michael ends up posing as this drunk, kind of philosophical sort of guy that doesn't give his name, and he gets thrown in Beecher's corner, you know, lockup with Jason, and he ends up bringing a paperclip in to let Jason break out, and Jason's like, "What are you doing, getting yourself locked up?" You know, and he's like, "Well." He's basically alluding to the fact that Jason got himself in prison to help Michael out early, you know, God, 6, 7 8 years ago. I don't know. And so he's kind of doing a little bit of payback for him, like saying that, he's got his back. And he did alert Sam, so it's all set up right. They end up getting, the door unlocked. And then the bad cop and good cop come in. And, of course, Jason just leaps out, takes them both out, knocks the bad cop out. And the good cop, he makes sure that the weapon's away. But then he tells him basically, like, this guy's kind of no good, and to, take care of it in a certain sense. He's kind of giving a little bit of information on that. But through the whole process, he made sure Michael didn't get implicated in being connected, pretended that he was this drunk philosopher acting guy. Good fun stuff. Kim is still struggling with Oscar, and she's kind of gotten a little bit rejected from Julian and Drew on having another kid, and she turns to Shiloh, of all people, and says, I need you to help me convince Drew to have a baby. And Shiloh at first is thinking that, oh wow, I'm going to get to impregnate this woman, and he's all like, that's what you want, right? And she's like, what are you talking about? And like, she knows nothing about the Dawn of Day rituals and any of that kind of stuff. And so she's kind of confused at first, but he starts to realize, like, oh, okay, I get it. And then she kind of alludes to Julian having a lot of stuff going on with his family and having the adoption issue with Wiley. And Shiloh's starting to piece together here that, oh my goodness, this is my son, and he's got it in his mind now. And of course, he walks out of the apartment when Julian gets there. And Julian's like, what the hell is this guy doing here? And she's showing, like, he's willing to help me or whatnot. And he's like, you know nothing about this guy. He is no good at all. And he starts to get into the cult stuff and all of the problems. So, a little too late on her knowing, and she kind of tipped the hand a little bit. But, he's already on the track of this, so it probably wouldn't have mattered. But just more information for him to move on. So Brad is... he's helping out his mom. Bobbie got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and he's going through all the stuff she needs to do to make sure she doesn't have any problems. And, he ends up hugging her as her son and as her doctor, and just somebody that loves her, and saying, your heart is so valuable, and... as a son, he's just saying the sweetest things to his mother, like, you've got to take this seriously, and I love you so much, and you got to be here for Wiley, and so on and so forth, and just try to buckle down with this. And even though she was a little bit defensive about the whole thing at first, but good scenes there. And then I'm sorry, it was Lucas, not Brad. That whole thing. Sorry about that. But yes, so Lucas also he leaped out of nowhere and saved Sam from getting assaulted, well, he thought, by Shiloh. And that was just another great scene that Lucas had, where he came out of nowhere and defended his sister, and just riding into the storm to try to help her out. And she said, don't, he's going to make this connection about Wiley, and to just be more tactful about it, whatnot. But that was a great scene to see him come in and save his sister. Michael, he comes back into town. He reveals to Willow and Chase that Willow's dad did get murdered, and basically that they had a witness that was willing to testify, and they barely got out of there. And Chase made sure to quiet Michael down so he didn't incriminate anything that they did there, since Chase is a detective. But just, it started to dawn on Willow, like, she was blaming herself for years about her father's death, and to come to the realization that Shiloh had murdered her father and then gone and essentially sexually assaulted, raped her, and just, it's dawning on her, and just super emotional. you know, that is just horrifying what she's having to go through. But luckily she's going to get some justice for her dad. So coming up, you know, that's going to be some wild stuff. Over on Bold, Thomas is, you know, he ends up buying some, it looks like roofies to maybe drug Hope into, you know, thinking she slept with him, and then feeling like maybe they need to move into being a couple. But then if later down the road, you know, they're over at the beach house, Steffi's, and he ends up putting the roofies or whatever in Liam's drink, and you're like, so he's in, I think it's mojito or whatever, and so Liam is drinking this, and I guess margarita maybe, but you're like, so is he trying to now drug Liam into sleeping with Steffi? But then you're also going in the back of your mind with the fact that he killed Emma. Is he trying to kill Liam so that he's just totally out of the picture altogether, so that Hope never goes back to Liam? So this just scary ass stuff, considering Thomas is crazy as hell now, and a loose, just, you don't even know what he's gonna do moment to moment. But Hope did end up picking up Phoebe and called her Beth, and everyone was looking at her like, you know, completely like she's having like a little bit of an issue, you know, like associating her with Beth. And of course Steffi just says, you know, this is no problem at all, and Liam too, and you know, we're here for you, and realizing that this still is not gonna go away anytime soon. And then you got Thomas in the background watching, just like him knowing that that's Beth, and just not wanting it to come out for his alter, you know, reasons, trying to get Hope. But just crazy ass stuff going on, and Thomas is just totally out of control, and who knows what's going to happen. So, you know, Liam, I mean, I hope that he's not actually, you know, knocked out, where he goes to the hospital, maybe die, but it could be just this roofie thing. So we'll find out. Anyway, keep on researching.